Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new episode of the Shuffle Pod. We are now on episode number 15, and we got another special guest on the podcast today. We got Mitch from the Sableyes. Yo, what's up, Mitch?
How's it going? It's very early in the morning where I am. The good thing about living in Australia is that time zones are very difficult to sync up with everyone else who is creating content, but I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, you're in Australia. I'm all the way up in Canada, so the
I
time
know,
zones
right?
were, time
The
zones were
exact
pretty crazy.
opposite sides of the world.
You're in the future right now, though.
Absolutely, yeah. It's Sunday morning for me, Saturday afternoon for you. So
Yep.
I can tell you nothing's changed. It's all the same.
Same, yeah. Unfortunately, Lindsay was unable to make it today on today's episode. She unfortunately just isn't feeling very good today and wasn't able to make it, and we weren't really able to reschedule or have a better time to film the podcast. So we're just gonna do it us two today, which I think is honestly fine. Me and Mitch, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We can hold the fort down. We can hold the fort down for
Yeah,
Lindsay.
now that we're actually in the recording software, we should be okay.
Yeah. So I think we should get things started with the weekly recap. We'll start off with you, Mitch. So how's your week been?
It's been pretty busy, so I'm trying to keep content coming up, because if you've been involved in my channel in any way over the last year, you know that my content has been sporadic at best. So I'm trying to keep it to 3 a week. But we're coming up on the end of the school year, and I'm a teacher for those who don't know, so I've got a lot of schoolwork to do, which is not necessarily a fun Pokemon topic per se, but it's taking up a lot of my time. Lots of marking and that kind of stuff, which is kind of boring and tedious, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It could be worse. At least I'm getting paid for it.
That is true. Yeah, there's actually quite a few people in the community who are teachers.
Yeah,
And you're one of them.
it's. I was doing some maths on it maybe 6 months ago, and I think there's something like 6 or 7 content creators who have an education degree, plus then on top of that, even more people. So it seems to be a thing that people gravitate towards. I don't know whether it's just good public speakers go into education. Maybe that's the case.
I think it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, being a teacher, you kind of have to teach people. People learn things, and when you're playing Pokemon TCG and when you're creating content, it kind of plays off into that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, my week's been pretty straightforward. Just creating content. We are leading up towards Silver Tempest, which is coming out next Thursday. I think actually by the time
next
this
Thursday.
episode goes out. Yeah, I think by the time the episode goes out here, it will be out.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy. So yeah, so I guess as you're watching this episode, whether or not the set's already out on TCGO, TCGL, or whatever, it's gonna be a good little warm up to get you into the set, because I'm sure we'll discuss some Silver Tempest stuff while we're at it today. Yeah, my week's been kind of just straightforward stuff, making content. I did go to a tournament yesterday at my locals, which was a
Nice.
Silver Tempest legal tournament. Yeah,
Ooh.
and I actually played a bit of a rogue deck. I played an Arceus V-Star Reggie Drago deck with
Oh, wow.
Beedrill. I had to put the Beedrill in for the Lugia matchup. Honestly, I kind of like the idea of Arceus Reggie Drago. I've been toying around with how to build Reggie Drago, and I think Arceus might be the best way to play it. It's just straightforward, consistent. You have Arceus, which gives you an early game attacker, which can be really good. And
Yeah.
it's just basically, it reminds me of the Arceus Giratina deck. It's just you have Gudra and Duraludon to
Yeah, you just have more
in the
more
deck.
attackers to use, yeah?
Exactly.
And plus, you don't have to play Gardenia. Oh.
Oh my god. The poor
Huge.
man's welder.
Yeah, exactly. So it feels so sad every time you play it. You're like, oh man, this could have been better.
Could have been a lot better. Yeah, because when I was building Reggie Draco, I was at first playing it with Leafeon and Gardenia, and then I'm trying the deck out. I'm like, it's just not clicking. And then I'm just like, wait, why am I not just using Arceus with
Yeah,
Reggie
just
Draco?
put Arceus
This
in
is
it.
just way better.
That's the solution to any V card that you can't get to work. Just put it in with Arceus, you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Plays itself.
Charizard VMAX, play with
Yeah.
Arceus.
Arceus is yeah, just put it in, that'll power it up.
Exactly. Oh man, but yeah, my week's been just kind of the same old stuff. But I am looking forward to Silver Tempest coming out. I'm sure me and you are both really excited for
Oh,
Silver
yes.
Tempest coming out, especially as content creators.
I'm very excited. I don't know if you plan your videos the same way that I do, but I've got my little block of Silver Tempest stuff, and there are 0 meta decks in the first 5. I'm just like, I want to play, like this Arcanine. I want to play Rapidash. I want to play Wailord. There's like all these different things. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, I do the same. I write down a lot of the new cards from the set and like how I can play them, and I look at like old cards that could be good with some of the new cards. Yeah, I write down a lot of the decks. I upload daily, so I got to keep up with the constant grind.
I don't know how you do that. That's insane to me. Like, especially the worst part is like 1.5 months into a set when everything has been done and you're sitting there. I used to do it daily. That was how I initially started growing, and I got to that point and I'd be like, what am I supposed to do now? And so the fact that you can continually do it is so impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it can be a grind. It can also be a bit of a struggle, especially with some of the more rogue decks. The elo kind of goes up and down, you know.
Oh yeah, that's you're sitting. It's like I played a game. He's playing his game with some random some random rogue deck, and I play like 16 games in a row and lose. And that's like, okay, cool. Now I need to play for another 3 hours with something that's good, so that I can finally play against players that are actually like, I'm not playing a theme deck anymore. You know, scoot all the way back.
Yeah,
up
no
to the top.
no more playing against a Shadow Rider Calyrex League battle deck.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
The Shuffle Squad is sponsored by Atlas Collectibles. If you are looking to get a great price on any and all Pokemon TCG products, head over to Atlas Collectibles and you can see their huge selection of Magic and Pokemon cards. And if you do get anything at Atlas, of course, at the checkout, make sure to use the discount code TSS12 to save yourself 12% on your purchase. 12% is a lot to save, so definitely, if you're going to get anything over at Atlas Collectibles, make sure to use that discount code TSS12. Also, the Shuffle Squad is sponsored by PTCGO Store. Get all the latest codes for PTCGO over at PTCGO Store, and of course, you can use the discount code TSS5 for a nice 5% discount on your purchase, and it also directly helps out the Shuffle Squad. Alright, I think it is time we can get into Guess That Pokemon Pokedex
Alright, here we go. This is why I'm
excited for it. Yeah, this is why you're here. So basically, I'm gonna ask Mitch, of course, I'm gonna give him some hints towards a Pokemon, and he's got to try to guess what that Pokemon is. So we're gonna start things off here. This Pokemon is from generation number 3, and this Pokemon has 7 letters within its name.
Okay, I will say that Generation 3 is the weakest of my Pokemon knowledge.
Ooh, really?
In my experience of playing Pokemon, like when I was a kid, I played Red and Blue, and then Gold and Silver, and then stopped, and then came back in Black and White, and I played all the way through until X and Y, and then I stopped when they remade Gen 3, and then I came back again afterwards. So this is going to be tough. 7-letter Pokemon from Gen 3 could be literally anything.
Yeah, it could be a lot. There's a lot of options out there.
I think I'm gonna need some more clues.
All right,
I may not get this, by the way.
Alright, the next hint here. This Pokemon is a dark Pokemon.
Dark type Pokemon from Gen 3.
With 7 letters.
With 7 letters. Is it just Sableye?
Yeah, it is.
It is. I am so glad that I named the channel after it, because otherwise I would have no idea.
Of all the Gen 3 Pokemon.
I'm so glad. I am so glad that I got that. Because if we had gone through like the whole list of hints and I didn't get it, that would have been so embarrassing.
Oh man, I had to choose Sableye. It's like the perfect Pokemon for this episode. So I was like, we got to make it Sableye.
Oh man, oh boy. Well, hey, listen, I appreciate you giving me that one. At least it's easier.
No worries. Yeah, because there's some other dark Pokemon I could have chose. You know, there's Absol, there's Shiftry, there's Sharpedo. Because like I was gonna say it was a ghost Pokemon, but I'm like, there's not that many ghost Pokemon in Gen 3, so that might have been a little too easy for you. So I had to choose dark, because it is a dual type Pokemon. So I'm like, all right, I'll have to say it's a dark Pokemon, and then
I'm
give you the hint later.
I'm glad that you said dark, because if you said ghost, I probably would have been thrown off, because I only think in terms of Pokemon cards. Sableye's only ever a dark Pokemon.
That's true. That's true. That was a good hint then.
Oh god! All right, we got there. We did it.
Yeah, that was a pretty quick guess too. A lot of the times, I think it takes us like maybe 3 or 4 like attempts to guess the Pokemon. So you got that like right away. That was pretty good.
Well, I'm glad that I formed my
record.
entire personality around it. Otherwise, I would have been in some trouble.
Poke Word, the best place to get your fill of Pokemon-inspired puzzles. New puzzles are posted every day, and they recently launched a new Guess That Pokemon puzzle, which is a ton of fun to play. Go check them out at pokexword.com and be sure to follow them on Twitter for your chance to win a ton of PTCGO codes every month.
Feel free to send in some questions to Ask the Pod, of course, at podcast@theshufflesquad.com if you want your question answered on next week's episode of the podcast. So it could be any question. I think last episode somebody asked a question about the new Earth tablet coming out. So if you have any question with anything, whether it be any card or any question, like competitive wise, talk about the cards, or it doesn't even have to be Pokemon related. It could be real life related, really. You can ask what our favorite song is, our favorite movie, anything. Just
ask for life advice.
That email.
I'm sure we can offer it.
If you need life advice, you need love advice, you need anything.
Let's not go too far. I don't know if I can offer that.
Yeah. If you want ask any question, make sure hit up that email, of course, podcast@theshufflesquad.com. To celebrate the new channel here, we are going to be doing a giveaway, and the winner will be drawn on our December 1st podcast episode. So the winner will receive a Shuffle Squad t-shirt and 100 PTCGO codes. However, if the winner is outside of North America, we will be giving away 200 codes due to shipping limitations. So if you want to be entered in that podcast, make sure you are subscribed. If you want to be entered into the giveaway, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and you can win yourself some awesome swag and some PTCGO codes. And I think when the winner is decided, Silver Tempest will be the new set, and those codes still might be pretty hot on the market, so it could be a good time to get those codes. Yeah, because
good value.
You might need them.
Yeah.
If you're trying to build Lugia. Yeah, you're going to win it. Easy Lugia's right there. Easy Lugia V-Stars. I think it is time now we can get into some of the main topics. So I've actually written down some interesting topics for Mitch. So one big thing we wanted to definitely talk about here is Pokemon TCG Live. Of course, Mitch has been posting and preaching Pokemon TCG Live to the choir. I know it's been a bit of a hot topic in the community. A lot of the other content creators are not the biggest fans of Live. I've kind of grown on it a little bit, mainly because of the new update. I actually really like the update they did to it, how they've changed the gameplay. The game looks a lot better and it plays a lot better than how it did before. And so I'm starting to come around on it a little bit. I personally still prefer PTCGO, but I think TCG Live is moving its steps in the right direction. I think that it is becoming a better client. But I think before we talk about PCG Live, let's ask some more kind of personal questions about your YouTube journey. So what got you into becoming a content creator?
All right. Well, it's an interesting story in a sense, but in another in another much more real sense, it's not very interesting. When I started the channel, it was originally going to be like a group channel, right? So I was playing with Pokemon players in South Australia, which is where I was living at the time, and we were kind of in a loose affiliation. Like the team name was the Sableyes, because SA South Australia, SA Sableyes, right? So it fits nicely. It's a nice little mascot. And we were on a trip to Ballarat, which is like a country town outside Melbourne, which is in Victoria. And it was about an 8 or 9 hour drive to get there. On the drive there, we were talking about how at the time there wasn't any competitive Pokemon content really going on. There was like Omnipoke, but Tricky Gym was kind of newish. I think you were kind of newish, and there was like this lack of really hardcore competitive stuff. So what we wanted to do was we wanted the 5 of us who were in that car to kind of put together competitive stuff and have our group produce this channel. And so when I got home from that tournament, I made the channel, called it the Sableyes. It all set up, and then it sat dormant for 2 years because we didn't do anything. So I think this is 2017. We just didn't do anything with it. We every now and then would record like League Cups at our local store. and we'd commentate over the top of that. But it eventually whittled down to maybe 2 or 3 people who would be involved in making the videos, and so myself and another person would go and make like a deck profile, or would talk about like a new set or whatever. But yeah, it wasn't much. We were doing it very sporadically.
Right.
And then eventually I made a random deck profile on a deck that I was really excited by, and that video got a lot of views. And as you know, when you're a YouTuber, you're like, oh, that's the thing that I now have to do forever. So we kinda went in that direction, and it has since, I haven't done anything with another person on the channel for like 2 years, maybe. But the same people who were originally on the channel kind of help me in the background. So like with playing on Live is a really, really cool client, and I really enjoy it. We'll talk more about it later. But one of the big issues is that it's hard to consistently find games against meta decks at the moment, because the player base isn't there. It's just a little bit more difficult. So those people are currently in the background playing games against me. So you'll probably notice if you watch any of my stuff that you'll have one of 3 names like up in the top corner of my screen, because I'm just playing the same people over and over again, because they're the ones I can guarantee actually have good decks to play against. So yeah, it's one of those situations where they're always kind of there talking. Like I was in a Discord call with them last night talking about like stuff. So they're still in the background, you just don't see them, unfortunately.
That's kind of interesting, because I thought it was just kind of, eventually, maybe they kind of like drifted apart from the channel, you kind of just like took over it as like the head content creator. That's actually kind of cool that they are still working in the background kind of on the channel.
Well, because I mean, ultimately, the people that I started it with, like the 6 people or 5 people who were in the car, I'm still friends with 3 of those people. One of them stopped playing Pokemon since, and one of them I've drifted apart from since I've been out of Adelaide. But, I still talk to them. They're still my friends, so it makes perfect sense. And yeah, they're always around to help record. And hopefully, when Live gets released, I won't need to bug them all the times. Play against them.
That is true, yeah, because Live is, like, not very populated, and a lot of the people that I sometimes also run into are on Live. Like, when I played it a few times, especially after the new update, they were playing, like, some of the new decks that you get given to. Yeah. I think you get, like, a Zoark deck given to you, I think.
Yeah, so at the moment, what's the last set? What was the last set that we had? Oh my god.
Lost Origin. I think it was
Lost
Origin.
Right? Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like looking for a box behind me. Lost Origin. So the Lost Origin Battle Pass gives you like Zoroark V-Star. So lots of people are playing that. But Live kind of has a weird ELO system at the moment where you like play against people that are at your ranking, but if you lose, you kind of drop off and play against players that are at a lower ranking. And I'm assuming that's an issue with the amount of people that they have playing. Like, I can't see it being a permanent one. But it just means that if you ever lose a game against a player who's around the same level as you start playing against, like, structure decks again, which is a little bit sketchy, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Leads to some pretty big win streaks, I'll say that much.
That is
Fight
true,
your way back up.
That's true. That's me with Expanded. Expanded's kind of the same for me. Like, I find that it's not as populated, and I play against, like, not the greatest decks in Expanded. Like, basically just binder drop decks, right?
Yeah.
And I think I recorded a Zoark V-Star video, like, the other week, and I got a 24 win streak with the deck.
Yeah, just sitting there cruising through because you just play. It's like, okay, this guy's just started. They've got 2 theme decks smashed together. Just cruise. Oh, I lost the Shadow Rider. Oh, I have to start again.
I actually lost my streak to an Excadrill control deck.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was like an Excadrill, like, infinite loop focus sash deck. Yeah, I was like, oh no.
Gross.
My streak ended. Oh man. But I guess, like, on the topic of content creation, so I think one thing that I want to give you your flowers for. So last year, I think it was around the time of Shining Fates, you started doing a lot of, like, big, colorful, like, face in the thumbnails. And I think you did a really kind of big job innovating the PTCGO thumbnail sphere, because I noticed, like, after you did it, a lot of others, I will say that I also have been inspired by your thumbnails to also start doing the face and the thumbnails. I know Azul started to do it too at that time. Like, a lot of the other content creators started to kind of pick up on that. So I gotta know, like, what kind of went into the process and the thought process of kind of doing that thumbnail trend?
It's, well, as a teacher, I'm also a lifelong learner, right? So I try and keep myself, like, learning things. And so at that time, I was like, how can we push, like, push our videos out to more people? Because at the time, thumbnails were kind of like, and they still are in some ways, they're just a bunch of cards like on the screen.
Yeah.
You're not like 2 or 3 cards, and then you might have like the name of the deck at the bottom. So I know I was doing like cards in a fan and then the name of the deck. And I was like, this is kind of boring. Everyone's doing the same thing. What can we do that's different? And I just went and researched about YouTube thumbnails. I spent like 2 weeks watching content about YouTube thumbnails. And they essentially boiled down to, you want it to be bright and colourful, you want to have your face in it, and if you've got words, then they need to be like about the game or whatever. So try and move away from like the name of the deck, because they can tell the name of the deck by the cards. And like, you know, what's for, you know, let's see if I've got an example that's just on hand. So if I'm like looking at B-Drill, right? I've got like B-Drill on the screen with me doing a dumb face, like, oh my god, it's incredible. And then right, like unbelievable, right? Because it's unbelievable, and so people are more likely to click on that than if it's just a picture of the cards in the deck with, you know, B-Drill written down the bottom, because that's kind of boring. And so then everyone kind of shifted in that direction. It's weird in a way because we've kind of gone backwards a little bit when it comes to thumbnails. So lots of people have moved away from that and have gone back to just cards on the screen. But one thing I have noticed about thumbnails is that the big kind of content creators, the big YouTubers, have either shifted away from the face in the thumbnail, but they've gone to like a real structured like template that they use. So for example, I know exactly what video OmniPoke has put out, because they always have the exact same thing. They've got the arts of the cards, they've got the name on the side, and they've got the diagonal line. Like, I always know when I'm looking at, let's see, I always know when I'm looking at, like, a Zapdos TCG or a Tablemon video, because they've always got the same structure. And so it's interesting that it's kind of moved to 2 camps. You're either in camp structure thumbnail, or you're in the camp that you and I are in, which is picture of card, cool word, very colourful, face like this.
Me and you, I think you and maybe I think Celio are like the only 3 left that kind of do that type of thumbnail still.
Yeah, well, I know For the Win does it as well.
Yes, I forgot about For the Win. Yes, he's another big one. Yeah.
So he's up and coming. We gotta be careful of him.
Yeah.
He's coming quick.
He's coming up. But I think that's like the interesting thing too. The face and thumbnail kind of feels like the natural progression of YouTube thumbnails. I mean, there's been like a few YouTubers who used to do the face and thumbnails. Dark Integral Gaming kind of did it too. His was more like, he had like a small like face instead of like more than like it takes up half the thumbnail. His face was always like in the bottom corner.
Yeah, in the
Yellow
corner.
Swallow used to do it a little bit.
Oh man. There's some nostalgia names right there.
Very nostalgic names, yeah. One day they'll come back, maybe. I've always wanted to see if I get them on the podcast.
Fingers crossed. One day we'll see Donald again.
One day we'll see Dennis. We'll see. But yeah, I think, and that's interesting to see kind of how the YouTube thumbnail for PTCGO kind of has like evolved, right? I mean, it's always been, you know, cards on the screen. Like sometimes people would have different backgrounds. Some people would zoom in on the card and blur the background of a card, and then that would be their like background template, and then they'd put like the card over it. Yeah. Or they'd have like I think Mahone like looks up like vibrant backgrounds or like colorful like gradient backgrounds and puts them on his like thumbnail templates. It's always been kind of the same formula. And one thing that's interesting is a lot of YouTubers outside of PTCGO are starting to, you know, move towards the face and the thumbnail. So I think it's just kind of, the way I look at it, it's a natural progression, evolution of the community.
Yeah, well, it's interesting as well because YouTube's just changed their the way that they format things on the screen as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that changes stuff, because the size of the thumbnail when you're viewing on desktop or mobile depends on what you can put in your thumbnail. So like we had smaller ones, so everything had to be big, but now the images are big, so you can kind of have your face smaller and it still achieves the same effect. So it's going to be interesting to see how that happens.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that happens too. How it'll impact the thumbnail game within PTCGO and outside of PTCGO for sure. So I guess kind of on the topic of content creation once again. So you're into the rogue decks too. So
Yes.
what kind of like, because you used to do meta decks also for a bit. I remember, I think I remember when we did the Omnipoke battle.
Yep.
When we were doing the OPOP League, I remember we played each other, and I think at the time, I think I checked out your channel, and I saw you were also kind of doing the meta stuff and the rogue stuff. But I feel like now you've transitioned more into the rogue content. What kind of got you into that? Obviously, rogues are fun to play. That's like the biggest.
That's
thing,
the key,
you know?
right? And they're also fun to watch as well.
Yes.
So one of the things that I've found when I'm playing cards, I play a lot of meta, right? Like I'm a hyper competitive player when it comes to the game. I love cups, I love challenges, I love regionals. I want to go to worlds. That's the end goal of every season. So doing that is what I do playing Pokemon just generally. So coming online, you can sit and grind the same games over and over and over again, and sometimes you have to. So, like, when Lugia comes out, I'm going to have to grind a few games with that deck just to figure out how it works and get the games in, get the reps in, so that I'm good enough. If I want to play it at a big tournament, I can. But one of the things that I found that I struggled with as a competitive player was card pool knowledge, because there are some players in the game that are just so good at deck building that it doesn't really matter what you do to prepare against them. They always have something new. There's like this tech that they've included for the matchup that you're playing, or there's this random card that they've pulled out of nowhere that does this very specific thing that you just can't deal with. So I started off doing more rogue stuff because I just wanted to have a better card pool knowledge.
Yeah.
It's like I just wanted to know what all these cards do, and then you play them, and they're a lot of fun. Like it's really satisfying to get these combos off. Like I was playing Chandelure the other day, and it's really satisfying to just be like, yeah, I just evolved 2 Chandelures in a turn, and you have no more cards left, so I win. And obviously, it's not like you're not going to win every game with them, but it's much more satisfying than like sitting down and playing 100 games of like ADP back in the day. Like, you know, it's just kind of that kind of got a little bit tedious.
Yeah, ADP or Pikarom, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But also on top of that, you know, as I was saying before, you do the thing that you go the direction that the views are, and that's where the views are on YouTube, because no one really wants to watch the meta decks because everyone talks about them all the time. So I've made a point in my planning. I will not make a deck profile on a meta deck until like a week after the set comes out, because I know that Azul and Mahone and Table One and Zapdos TCG and Omnipoke and all these different people on day one that they will make a Lugia deck profile. So I'm not going to make a Lugia deck profile at the same time as them. I'm not as good a player as them. Plus, everyone's going to have watched 5 before my video comes out. So I'll do something else instead, and I think that's it's a more healthy way for me personally to play the game, because if I didn't, then I would just stop. Like, I just stop playing because it's tedious to play the same deck over and over again sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's one thing about being a rogue deck creator too, and especially kind of in my field, is that, you know, since I do the daily content, I have to play, you know, a different deck every single day. But in doing that, it actually keeps me coming back to the game because I'm doing something different every day. I got questions of how am I never burnt out? And I'm like, well, the answer is because I am playing a different deck every day. I'm trying something new every day, so it's not the same thing over and over again. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's one nice thing about doing rogue decks is like it's just something different all the time, you know?
Yeah. And I think something that viewers, in my experience, really appreciate is when you play rogue decks, you lose, right? Like, you lose a lot. And so if you're watching this and you don't like have a full understanding of how the kind of YouTube content creation stuff goes, I don't know about you, but I will play a rogue deck for 3-4 hours before I get 2 games that are worth showing people. Yeah. And it might be like, sometimes I've just like stomped someone randomly. Sometimes my deck just doesn't function, and that's usually what happens. It just doesn't work. Or eventually I've lost so many games that I play against like a theme deck.
Yeah.
The
it's
not
elo
worth
drop.
showing.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where because you're playing these rogue decks, you can show games where the deck loses because it's not about winning or losing with that deck. It's just about, this is a cool combo, let's see if we can get it to happen. Whereas if I'm playing Giratina, right, at the moment, and I show a game where I lose, well, I'd better have lost for a really good reason, right? Because the deck is really strong.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you on that camp. I try to, like, for the most part, I'd show games where I win. I kind of look at it as I'm uploading this video more for entertainment than for actually, like, you're getting knowledge. Like, I don't, like, want you to watch, like, a Little Dark Fury video and then you see, like, me upload a video on, like, I don't know, like, Bolt Hunt, right? It's like, Bolt Hunt's obviously a fun deck you can play on the ladder and kind of mess around with, but... you know, you're not going to take it seriously, but I want to upload the video for your entertainment. I want to show you the deck working. So I try to, you know, avoid showing the losses, but I do think that, I agree. It's important to show losses sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do show.
My rule is always, I want to show the deck working.
Right.
I want to show the deck doing its thing. And if it does its thing and it loses, then whatever, it's fine. Because it's exactly right. Like, we're not here to make videos to be like, oh, Chandelur's the new best meta deck in the whole game. Everyone's going to be playing it. Because that's not usually the case. But you know, I want to show the thing working, and sometimes it works and you lose, and that's just because, you know, sometimes there are better decks. Sometimes you play against Arceus and you just can't beat it. Like
or Palkia, you know, and they just kind of are better than you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it just happens. And I think that's part of the fun with rogue decks is that you can you've got more flexibility as to what you can show. And I think that at least in my case, viewers really appreciate that. I get comments all the time like, I'm so glad that you showed this deck losing because when I play it, I lose all the time. So thank you for that.
Yeah, this guy made it look like the deck was super invincible, but I'm glad you showed the loss, right?
Yeah, exactly. He showed me the 2 games that he won in the 4-hour recording session that he had.
Doing the rogue stuff, it's fun, but sometimes the decks don't do well.
Sometimes it can be tough. I remember I did a video, it was a long time ago now. What was it on? It was on, like, some really niche mill card. It might have been, like, Center Scorch, but not the one you're thinking of.
Okay.
Like, it might have been that Center Scorch, but right back at the start when it came out. Okay, and I remember I literally recorded that deck for 2 full days. Like, 2 days of recording, trying to get it to work. I was like, oh my god, this is so bad. I remember I had to go and be like, can someone else record some games of another deck so I can put out a video tonight? Because I'm trying to get this to work.
Oh my god, I remember doing the Center Scorch deck too. It took me a while to film that.
That was brutal.
That was very brutal.
It's good to know that it's a similar experience.
Yeah. I was the same way with the Feraligatr from Fusion Strike and the Toxtricity. I think it was from Darkness Ablaze, where those cards are very, very risky.
They're very interesting. Very interesting cards, but it's like, oh, okay, here we go.
God, yeah. I remember the Toxtricity video. I think I had to take a couple days to compile matches for that, too. Like, I had to record a bit of it and then film the video that I wanted to make for the next day and then come back to the deck the other day because I kept flipping tails and milling myself, and it's so bad.
I'm just going to give a break. I'm just going to take a break. Move on, do something else.
I've had that happen before where I think, like, I try to record, like, a deck that's, like, maybe not the greatest deck ever, and, like, it doesn't go well, and I'm, like, getting so fed up with it, I'm like, all right, you know what, I'm just gonna record an Arceus deck with a VMAX, and, you know, I can get that done in, like, half an hour, you know?
I'm just gonna put something together that attacks once with this, like, random V, and then I'm gonna be done with it.
Yep. Sometimes I'm like that. I'm like, all right. This weird rogue niche combo doesn't seem to want to work today. I'll try again tomorrow. I'm just gonna record a video on Arceus.
We'll come back.
Yeah. I guess speaking of some of the new cards, what decks are you most excited for coming out of Silver Tempest? And whether that even just be on the content creation side, but also, as you were saying earlier, you're into the competitive stuff.
Yeah.
What cards are you most looking forward to for Silver Tempest for, I guess for content creation and competitive?
Lugia is really good, so I'm very excited for that. I've managed to pull together in our pre-releases over the last couple of weekends enough cards to actually play the deck, which is fantastic.
Oh, nice.
I don't know whether we're going to have any events in which to play them, but we'll see, because there hasn't, as of recording, there has not been any Australian events released yet, which is a bit disappointing, but it's okay. I'm sure they'll come out soon. So I'm excited for that. I think Reggie Alecki is going to be really good. So if you're a competitive player on the standard ladder of PTCGO or Live, you are going to play against Item Lock a lot. So get ready for that. It's going to make recording some rogue decks really fun.
Very fun. Yeah.
It's going to be great. It's like, oh, well, my entire deck just doesn't work now because you played one Vigavolt, so I lose. But on top of that, there's a lot of really cool rogue stuff in this set. So, like, going through the set list with a couple of guys from my testing group, there's really only 2 decks, maybe 3, Reggie Drago maybe, that are going to make an impact on the actual competitive game. But there are so many cards that could theoretically be a video. Like, I'm really excited about the Arcanine V. That's probably going to be the first video that I do, just because I love Arcanine. There's the two Pokemon that I have sitting next to my desk. Sableye and Growlithe, so I'm big on that. So we'll see if we can get that to work. It'll probably be with, like, I don't know, Zapdos or Lucario or something. I'm sure you've got a list that you're thinking of in your head as well. So I'll probably do that. And also, I'm really excited for Rapidash as well, because when I started playing competitively, I started with Volcanion EX. So Steam Up, Attack, 130, 160, 190. And Rapidash has the same ability. It's obviously a stage 1. But it can attack with any fire-type Pokemon at all, so Volcanion was only basic. So I don't know whether I'm going to play that with, like, I kind of want to play it with, I think Victini VMAX is going to be cool to play it with. I kind of want to play it with Charizard V-Star so I can use the card in a thumbnail. I don't know whether it's going to be good enough to use as a
the new UPC Charizard for
the thumbnail. Exactly. It'll look really nice with the new Alt-Art Charizard in the thumbnail. I actually noticed that you did a video with Charizard as well. Let's stick it up there in the corner. It looks really good.
New artwork of a card comes out, alright, new content confirmed.
Bang, it's on there. There it is. And then there's a couple of other ones. Like, I've got a list of, let's see how many are there. I've got a list of 25 decks at the moment, which for me is a lot. But it'll take some time for them to come out, because I'm just not going to commit to doing one a day, at least at the moment. It's just too much for me. There's like the Superior V-Star, the Incineroar's really cool, that they level up and use each other's attacks. I like the Pika Strike deck as a content idea.
That one's going to be very fun. I might just do that for the first video.
Yeah, it's such a cool idea. Like I love those kind of sequency, like, go off in a direction. It's really cool. Jinx is also an interesting card. Braixen is an interesting card. There's a lot. And then you've got the plates as well. So suddenly you can use the Earth Plate to, like, make other decks that weren't playable before semi-playable. You can put it in Lost Box, you can put it in Inertia. There's a whole bunch of stuff you could do. So very exciting time for a content creator when a new set comes out. And hopefully I can span it out for 3 months for the next one.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's a bit of a wait, too. I think we got the Crowned Zenith set in January, but that's not even going to have that many new cards in it.
No. Well, actually, is it... like, we don't know at the moment, but is it going to have Zacian and Rotom V-Star in it? Because we haven't seen those yet.
Yeah, I've had bare questions about that recently, like in my Twitch chat, about when are they coming out, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a promo or not.
Yeah, I assume that they're coming out with Crown Zenith. Like, they have to be. Because...
Well, Zacian's on the artwork, right?
Yeah, and they can't come out in the next set because they're not doing Vs anymore. So there has to be this one.
It's got to be soon. Hopefully it kind of, like, helps kind of keep content afloat a little bit as we await
well, I always really love these kind of mini sets, because it does give you that boost halfway between. You're just like, oh, there's some new stuff. I can do some new stuff.
Yeah, so does it just, like, keep going down and trickling down until it goes back up, you know?
Yeah, it's the February set and the the February set and the June set, I think, are always the really rough ones, because you're sitting there going, like, I've got nothing to do. It's been 2 months and I'm running out of ideas. Now I have to go back. I'm gonna do every VMAX. Am I just gonna do every VMAX in a row? And that's the theme.
Yeah,
I'm out of ideas.
Is Flapple VMAX playable? Maybe it's
I wonder if we can go back and make Orbeetle VMAX a thing. Let's see if this works at the moment.
Yeah, that's the struggle.
That's the one. Well, it's like I used to do a thing called the OG 150. So I'd like make
Oh,
a
I
deck with
remember
every
that, yeah.
Pokemon from the first 150. That was my solution to the mid set.
That's a good solution.
I was just like, also I'm gonna play a deck and it's gonna have Raichu in it. Let's see if this works. Well, it did. Take it off.
I remember
Great,
you did
we
one
did
on
it.
Tentacruel.
Yeah. Oh my god. The worst one was Dodrio. Oh my god.
Oh god, was that the which Dodrio was it?
Well, I couldn't even tell you. Just a second. I'll look it up. Dodrio. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
because I remember I think you did Fearow, Dodrio, you did Tentacruel. Because I remember watching the Tentacruel one because that one was interesting.
Let's have a look here. Sableyes, Dodrio. I don't even know if I put it out.
Oh really?
Oh my god! I didn't even release that video.
Oh my god.
I'm like looking through. It's not here. I just didn't release it. So that was that was brutal.
Oh god. What did the Dodrio do again? Was it like not the Dodrio V, right?
No, it was before Dodrio V.
Okay.
I couldn't even tell you what it did. I can't even tell you what it did.
I may know a
such
lot
a
of the
niche
cards,
card.
but even I don't. Yeah.
Like I don't know, it was ridiculous. But yeah, the Fearow was one. That was a grind. I'm just looking at it now. A PTCGO's Ultimate Energy Denial deck. Maybe I stretched that a little bit. Hey, but yeah, that's the fun. That's the fun of content creation. I'm gonna figure out a way to play these awful decks.
Exactly. I mean, you can go on to Johto, I guess, next.
Well, I
I
never finished. I think I never finished the 150. It must have been because of Dodrio. It must have been.
just melted your brain.
But at least they've released new cards, right? At least they've got a new Dodrio.
True.
Maybe I can go back to it.
Yeah, you
Actually,
can try Dodrio
I'm
V.
gonna grab my list up. I'm gonna see what cards I never got around to. This is behind the curtain. This is big time behind the curtain stuff.
Yeah, I remember at the end of
150.
I remember at the end of your videos, you'd have like a list of all the Pokemon like checked off that you've done, and then the ones you didn't have done.
So I have, so Dodrio has a green tick on it, which was optimistic. I must have been recording that last, and that was what killed the thing.
Yeah,
Trying to record Dodrio. But I never, I did Dugong. I literally just did a video on Dugong. I have to go back and tick it off. Dugong was on the list. I never got around to, like, Arbok. That never happened.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any good Arboks.
There's not.
No.
Cloyster is another one. Cloyster's a card that I never did. Tangela.
Oh yeah, Tangela.
Back in the day, but hey, that was cool. I should go back to this.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Like, I'll bring it back after a year.
Yeah.
We're finally doing Dodrio.
Yeah. We'll finally do Arbok.
Yeah, we're gonna do Arbok. I don't even know if there are any Arbok cards because I remember trying to do an Arbok deck with Jesse and James. That's how long ago this
the
was.
Hidden Fates one. I remember that.
Yeah. But that was also very difficult.
It was very, very difficult. Yeah, I think I did a video on that card, and it also was like, it didn't want to work, you know.
Yeah, that's a 6-hour recording session right there.
Yo, easy. Half my day's gone just trying to get one match for this deck.
It's like, oh my god, I just want to discard this with Jesse and James. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, that's the struggle. But no, you can definitely bring that back. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I think I will. I think once we're obviously Silver Tempest. I got all those to do.
Once Silver Tempest. Yeah.
But then when we hit that Doldrums, just before the mid set comes out, before Crown Zenith, then we'll come back to it, and we'll finally make the Lickitung deck that everyone has been really waiting for.
Oh yeah, there's like a new Lickitung that like can mill your opponent's hand or top deck or something.
Yeah, something like that. I'm actually looking at this list now, and I'm like, there's actually a lot of cards in here that I can actually use now. Like, there's a Kingler VMAX, which I can use for Kingler. There was no Kinglers when I was doing this, so it's back on. We're doing it.
That's true. All that time spent not doing it. Now you've more cards being added to the pool.
There's a chance we might be able to get Golem to work.
Oh yeah, there's a new Golem too. I think I've done a video on that Golem, so if you need inspiration and like help to like build a deck,
I'm not gonna lie. For a lot of these videos at the time, I was sifting through any content I could find on any of these cards. Like, has anyone done this? Can I see any lists? How am I supposed to make like this random Vileplume deck work? What am I doing?
Yeah, the new Vileplume. That's one card that I've not been able to do. Some stuff I can cover, but some of the new cards are just like so like niche. Like Vileplume, a stage 2 Pokemon that needs 2 energy to do 90 damage, and maybe item locks or maybe supporter locks. I feel like at that point you're just dead anyways.
It's like, oh my god, I may as well just not be playing.
Exactly. And I guess the final topic we can talk about here on this episode is, of course, Pokemon TCG Live. So you have been a very big advocate of Live. You have now switched your content over to just Pokemon TCG Live.
100%.
So yeah, I guess the floor is yours to kind of talk about TCG Live. And
okay, well, yeah. I'll say this much. I completely understand that everyone has apprehensions about Live. I get it. I do get it. I think the big thing for me was that I didn't play it when it was initially released in beta, so I don't have any of that baggage going with me. So like, I know that lots of people are, I know that lots of people are like upset with the way that it was and have not gone back to it. I know that lots of people were upset about migrating their account because they expected it to be something and it wasn't, and I can completely respect all of that. Like, that's 100% understandable. So my thing with Live was I came to it at the end of the Astral Radiance set, I think.
Yeah.
I think that sounds about right.
Astral Radiance,
and they were just in the process of shifting stuff. So like they'd gone, we are going to do this new background, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I was like, okay, well, it's now live in beta in Australia. I'll just load it up and give it a shot. And I played it. And it was fine. It was a little slow at the time, but it was fine. And I was kind of like, I don't understand what like the big hoo-ha about this was, because like when I was playing, I was like, this kind of just feels like Pokemon Live, except I'm playing against people that have theme decks that are better than on PTCGO.
Right.
So I kept playing it, and we got to a point where I think it was the day before they ended up shifting the background of the PC client from the white one to the black one. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do a live stream of it in the white, and then I'll do a live stream of it in the new one, and we'll like do a little bit of a comparison. And I was playing it, and it was just like, I'm just doing normal Pokemon stuff here. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it. There's a couple of bugs, like the damage counter's really big sometimes randomly for some reason. Yeah. And I've seen other bugs happen. Like, I've seen the energy glitch where you draw a bunch of cards off of Wish Energy or whatever it is. Like, I've seen that happen. And I've seen, like, you retreat a card and then the card in the active sits on top of it. Like, I've seen it happen. But I've literally never personally experienced any bugs playing the game. And so I was kind of like, well, why am I playing on PTCGO if I can play on Live where they give me all of this stuff for free? And it really hit home when I was like, it was when Deoxys and Zeraora came out.
Zeraora, right.
Yeah. So those cards came out. As an Australian, we don't have that product. Like, we just don't get it until, like, later this month or early December or something. So I can't go to the store and buy it.
Buy it, yeah.
I can't go to, like, a code store and buy it, because it's just come out, and it's not on any of those stores yet. But I want to make a video on these things. And PTCG Live is just like, yeah, you can buy it in the store, or you can craft it. And I was like, sick, I'm just going to do that. Yeah. And so I had these decks built, and I was like, it really sucks, because I'm playing, like, Rayquaza VMAX with Zeraora, and I'm playing, like, other stuff with, like, Shadow Riders with Deoxys. And I'm like, man, I have to recraft all these cards to be able to play these decks.
Yeah.
And so I spent, like, 4 days going, should I migrate my account? Like, should I just it's going to be so much cheaper for me if I just migrate it.
Yeah.
And so I did it in the end, and I made a big stream about it. I ended up streaming for 2 hours where all I did was click the migrate button and just, like, bait people as I was clicking on the migrate button. So that was good fun. But yeah, I've had a really good time with it. I think that the program itself is in a state where it is about as good as PTCGO was gameplay-wise. Like, I think that there are negligible differences. It's slightly slower, but it's pretty much the same in my experience. It's better for new players coming into the game because they give you so much Like, so
Yeah,
much.
they do. Yeah.
When you play, you get like 7 theme decks that are essentially half a meta deck. You get like Rapid Strike Urshi and Shadow Rider and Blissey and all this stuff. And then on the Battle Pass for every set, they give you like the second best card in the set. They give like Zoroark V-Star was the ladder deck, right? So you get given that for free just for logging on. The same thing with Astral Radiance. They gave you Samurott V-Star just for logging on. Right? And then if you get the Battle Pass, Premium Battle Pass, which costs 600 gems, which at the start of the game is 90 less gems than you start with. So you play for like 3 days and earn enough gems to get the Premium Battle Pass. You get Arceus V-Star as well. And like last set, it was Mew VMAX, alright? Mew VMAX is one of the best decks in the game. Like, and it will be for the next 3 months. And they just gave it to us for free.
Tempest. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so when Silver Tempest comes out, I'm expecting it to be like a Reggie Drago or Reggie Alecki or something like that. Plus, like, I don't know, Palkia, maybe? I think that's the next best thing that they've not given us. So, and if it follows that pattern, like, that's insane, the value that they're giving you for these cards. And that's the big thing that I want to push, is the fact that PTCG Live is so much better for the new player that it is, like, it's worlds apart. I was talking about the experience of going from 0 to competitive, like having no cards to being competitive. I was talking about this with other people on other podcasts. I can't remember exactly where I was. I've been talking about it on my stream. But like, if I'm a new player with 0 cards on live, I start off with 8, 9 decks that are half done. They're pretty close. If I'm a brand new player on PTCGO, I play black and white theme deck for a bit, whilst I go through the trainer gallery. Then eventually I get enough coins to buy a Vivid Voltage theme deck, which is great, except most of those cards are already rotated.
Yeah.
And then I have to buy a second one of those so I can turn it into a deck. And then I have to play enough to get tickets to play in tournaments to get tradable packs so that I can trade for cards. And then I either need to decide whether I'm going to do that enough to get the cards that I need for the deck that I want to build, or whether I want to trade for cards that I don't want, but are going to go up in value. So I need to play the stock market, because then I can get more packs. And then after you've done that, and you put together a deck, and then a new set comes out and it's not good anymore, and I need to go back and do the whole thing again, because I can't trade these cards for that anymore. So the experience for new players is just so vastly different, and so it's so much better for new players. That's my big point. And I can completely understand people like not wanting to lose trading. I can completely understand people who feel like, I don't know, ripped off, that they've put in so much time and effort and now the system's changing. I think that that's a little bit of a selfish perspective, me personally, but, you know, I can understand it. But it's so much better for a person who is just starting the game to be able to jump on and play competitively, that I think it would be stupid for us to, like, go, no, we don't want to play this game anymore. So that's what I'm trying to kind of promote, is the fact that it might not make a big difference for us, and we might complain about, you know, like, oh, the animations are slow, or the background looks like a toilet, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
The fact that playing the game for new players is so much better is a massive deal for me. And then the other argument is PTCGO will never get better than it currently is. That's it. That's as good as PTCGO will ever be. Whereas live, even though it might not be as good in people's opinions, at least it's got potential to change, right? At least it could be better. And if we all play it, then there's more incentive for them to improve it. So those are my 2 big talking points on it.
Yeah, I like your thought there, especially with when you brought up the Zeraora Deoxys situation that happened. Because Zeraora and Deoxys are still insanely expensive. I will go on the PTCGOprices.com right now. I'm going to check right now. Deoxys V, 15 packs. Deoxys VMAX, 13 packs. Deoxys V-Star, 14 packs. I think Zeraora is 20. Yeah, Zeraora VMAX is 17, and the V-Star is 18. To get yourself, like, the set of those for your deck, that's going to cost you, like, almost, like, if you want to get the Deoxys Zeraora full sets, it's, like, over 100 packs. That's a lot. And
it's ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous, and I don't see if their prices are going to go down. Usually these promo cards will like come out and they'll be hot for like maybe a week or so. Content creators will put the videos out, it'll keep their price nice and high. Eventually they'll like go down when people realize they're not very good. But they've stayed high for like almost like, I think 2-3 weeks now. They've been very expensive and they haven't dropped that much. And the fact that they're harder to obtain, and I mean, as a content creator, I think I've done 3 or 4 videos using these cards now. And obviously, when us content creators make a video on the card, the drive to get them will go up, so more people will want to obtain them, but then they'll realize they're a little too expensive to afford. And when you said that, you just got them for free. You just crafted them, and then just like that, you had them on your account.
They were the exact same price as any other Pokemon V, V-Star, V-Max. You just craft them for 1,000 and they're there. Like, it's the same with the Ultra Premium Collection Charizards. Yep. Right? If you want those on PTCGO, you have to trade for them or get the actual box, which is a ridiculous amount of money.
That's already a hard feat itself.
Like, don't do that. Whereas on PTCGO, if I want to play Charizard V-Star, I just go, oh, what art do I want? Oh, this one. Mm-hmm. Cool. Go for that. It's there. And that's, I think, one of the really big positives about Live is that, like, obviously playing decks like your rogue decks are going to be more expensive because the value of those cards is equal to the meta decks. Mm-hmm. But if that means that meta decks are less expensive for people, then that's really good. Like, I was doing some maths, I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, but it was like, if you wanted to get Lugia, for example, when Silver Tempest comes out, if you want to get a 4/3 line of Lugia plus 4 Archeops to build that deck, you are going to be looking at like 150, 200 packs on day one,
sure.
if you want to play it.
And if you're fully blinging it, good luck.
Well, if you can't. You just can't do it.
You can't.
Right? Like, you have to have 1,000 codes to be even close to it. Mm-hmm. So that's like, and if you consider that in like day of release prices of codes, I don't know what it is in Canadian dollars, but in Australian dollars, a brand new code is $1. Right? Mm-hmm. So like, if I'm going to get Lugia, and it's gonna, let's just say conservatively, it's gonna cost me at least 150 packs. That's $150 to play one deck on a digital card game. Like, that's ridiculous. On the flip side of that, I could spend $150 on 150 codes, enter them all into Live, get all the cards, because you can't trade any of it, and then with all the extra stuff, maybe then I can craft it, right? And at least then I feel like I've got a little bit more value because I can get cards with my 150 packs and still afford to get the good stuff
extras.
Too.
Yeah, so that's true. And that's one thing that Live, that's got to be Live's main selling point, right? Is that it's so much easier to get stuff. And the new set releases, it is always very expensive to get cards. And even as a content creator, it's one of the most important things is to obtain those new cards. Me and you, we don't got demo accounts, right? We don't have those. We don't have those unlocked accounts. We don't have access to every single card when they release. And when Live comes out, we can just be like, okay, I'm gonna get X amount of codes, put them into Live. Okay, I got these cards. Okay, then I got all these other cards duplicated, so they're gonna get burned into the gems and the crystals or whatever. And then I got more credit, and then I can use that extra stuff I pulled to get the stuff I didn't get. I maybe missed out on a couple Lugias. Well, I'll just craft a couple Lugias, and there we go.
I'll craft them up. They're going to cost you 2,000 credits, and that's not a huge amount, like in the grand scheme of things. So I think that's really good. I do want to say though, because lots of the time people think that I'm just like shilling positively all the time for it because whatever, like that's their own thing. I will say that the economy is a little skewed at the moment. It's a little bit difficult. You get given a lot of stuff for free, so you get tons of packs for free whilst you're playing, but it is still a little bit difficult to get credits to build everything. So you kind of need to be focused in on specific cards that you want, which for a new player is a little bit sketchy because they'll build something and spend their credits on it and then realize, oh, this is actually not what I want. I want this. So that's a bit of an issue. I would love to see a process where I can scrap cards that I already have more than 4 copies of. So for example, I have 42 different cards that have Professor's Research written on them. I'm only allowed to play 4 in my deck. 4. Yep. That means I have 38 that I'm never going to use. Can I please turn those into credits? Like, is that okay? Can I choose to? That would be great. I completely understand them not wanting us to be able to like just dust everything because then everyone just goes through all these commons and just dust them to get the stuff. But in a situation where like I've got Lugia, right? I've got Lugia V-Star, I've got Gold Lugia V-Star, I've got Rainbow Lugia V-Star. If I happen to get all 12 of them, can I please get rid of the 8 that I'm never going to use? Because I'm never going to use them. Like, it's literally impossible for me to do that. So that would be excellent. And also, at the moment, the prices of packs in the store with gems is too high. It's very expensive to buy packs in the store on PTCG Live. I can only assume that it's going to go in one of two directions. The price of those will come down, because it's too expensive and no one's buying them, or they will implement like a microtransaction system where you can spend dollars to get gems. Those are the only two scenarios I can see, because in the current situation, it's just not worth buying those packs. Like I've been lucky enough to have Pokemon give me gems as like a practice benefit or whatever whilst I'm playing the game. So that's been really nice, and we really appreciate it when Pokemon does help us out like that, because it's hard, as you mentioned, to get cards on day one. So I got like 5,000 gems out of that, which was really cool. And then I got 15,000 when I migrated my account across, because I had 125 packs that I hadn't opened. But so I'm sitting here with 21,000 gems, but I'm never going to spend any of them on anything other than the Battle Pass, because it's just not worth it. Like, it's just not valuable enough. So I think there needs to be some shifts there. And it's really important that we understand that I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the game is perfect, because it's not. But what I will tell you is that Pokemon Live is about as good as PTCGO, and it's going to get better. Like, it literally cannot stay as it currently is. It is always going to get better. And the big thing that I also try and do is I show people what PTCGO looked like when it came out. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember.
And you were playing then. But it was pretty bad. It was.
Yeah,
you were
for
looking.
Sure.
You needed binoculars to see the other side of the screen. Like, it was so far away. The only thing that's going to happen with Live is it's going to get better. So the gripes that people have that have been addressed already, great. If you're upset about like other aspects of it, like I don't like the way that, I don't know, I don't like the fact that I can't play Expanded, or I don't like the fact that this particular interaction doesn't work this way, or whatever, like whatever it is. I don't like the fact the animations are kind of lackluster. They will get better. They will get better. All I can say is, if you are playing the game, your opponent's cards face the other way. Yes, it's frustrating for 3 games, and then you get used to it. It's not a big deal. That's the one gripe that I just can't understand, is people going, "Oh, my cards are confused." It's like, oh my god,
it's not as,
Is that it? Is that the only thing you can come up with as to why you shouldn't play this?
I think one of my main complaints, and as a content creator, obviously the game, I still think they do have to fix a few things with the gameplay. One thing that I really hope that they fix is the deck manager.
Yes,
because on PTCGO, how you have the full view of the deck option, and that's perfect for when you do the deck profiles and you introduce the deck. But now it's you can't do it on PTCG Live, because it's like at the bottom in like the corner. You have to like scroll down. It's not very good.
Yeah, so I've changed the way that I do that to have like a picture from Limitless now. I will say that this is a niche problem that affects 16 people in the world, so it's not that big of a deal that you can't see the whole thing. But what I would love for them to do is I would love for them to switch the spots that things are. So I want the deck to be in the big square, and then the cards to be in the little rectangle. I think that would be a really good solution to that problem.
It would be 100%.
I don't know how easy it is to do that, because I don't know what the coding situation is back there. But I think just switching them over would then make it a little bit easier for people to be able to, firstly, make videos, which would be great, but also to see what their deck actually looks like. Because you do want to look at the whole 60 cards when you're building, so you can figure out what's going on. It's like, I feel like that aspect of the game was designed by someone who doesn't necessarily play the game, because they've not built it in a way that feels natural for us as players.
Exactly.
Again, it can only change for the better, right? It's either going to stay as it is, or it will get better.
Or get better.
And I think it's more likely to get better.
And I'm optimistic about it, because I was not a fan of Live either when it came out, but this new update gives me a lot more hope. Pokemon actually listened to us. They took that survey we just did into account, and they added all these new changes, and the game it's better. It has improved, and I think obviously as more, criticism comes out now, I think the game's now worldwide for the beta, right? or about to be?
It's going to be. It's not yet, but it's going to be. I think they said by the end of November. So you should be able to play it within the next 30 days, theoretically.
Yeah, and I think
Although
that'll be good for feedback too, right?
Yeah. They did say that it was going to be out within 30 days a year
30
ago.
days.
So
yeah, that's true.
so that's kind of sketchy.
Like a year today it was supposed to come out, but
yeah. So, but that's it's one of those things. I think that it's a perfectly acceptable platform at the moment. And if you are a new player, or if you're a player that doesn't put a lot of money in, and you're not interested in the team challenge, like I'm not interested in the team challenge at all, I don't think that there's any reason that you shouldn't migrate across to PTCG Live, even if it's like, even if it's in a couple of weeks when the global beta comes out, because I think that it's just as good. But obviously you don't have to, and you can. This is the big one as well. You can play live with your account without migrating. Right? Yeah. So there's literally no downside for giving it a try, and you get to keep all the cards that they give you for free when your account eventually migrates across. So if you earn stuff from Silver Tempest that you don't have in PTCGO, it will stay when you migrate. So when the global beta comes out, there is no reason not to at least give it a try. I would say just give it 2 hours. Like, give it 2 hours. You'll get over all the stimulation of the new graphics within an hour, and you'll be able to play a couple of games, and you'll probably find that it's pretty much just playing Pokemon cards. That was my big tweet when I was playing. I opened up live expecting the world to end, and all that happened was that I played Pokemon cards. And that was it.
Well said. I think that's one of the things, right? Is like coming off of PCGO going into live, it'll take time to get used to how everything flows and works, right? And I think that's
like the click and drag is weird because it's different, right? But then you get used to it and it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it just takes time just to get used to it coming off of PTCGO. And when I was playing the new update a few weeks back, it was the same thing. Like, at first I was like, oh, this is kind of daunting. And then as I was playing more, I'm like, okay, I'm getting more used to clicking and dragging. I'm still not the biggest fan of all the clicking and dragging. I think maybe they can tone it down a little bit. But again, you get used to it so quickly, and it just, it becomes, especially now that it's faster and smoother, it's really not as much of a headach.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, right? Is that it is that big shift when you come across, because live is a click system, whereas PTCGO you click on stuff, and live you click and drag, and that's a relic of the fact that it has ultimately been designed as a mobile game that has been ported to PC, right? So that's ultimately where that comes from. But like it takes a bit of time, but you get used to it, and there are aspects of it that are actually better, in my opinion. Like with Sableye, I can click and drag the number of damage that I want onto the Pokemon. I don't sit there and click it, and it's much harder to misclick in that situation because I have to actually click and drag the damage and place it on the Pokemon that I want to put it on. Whereas sometimes I'll be like, oh, what does this card do, or how much HP does this card have left, and I'll accidentally click it, and it's like, oh, well, now I've wasted 10 damage that I could have used on something else.
You place the damage there.
So that's kind of like one of the situations where it is better. I will say that playing like Lost Vacuum is a very arduous process on live, because you play the card, and then you lost zone a card, so you click and drag your card to lost zone, and then it like flips up the entire field. It's like, what card would you like to lost zone? And I'm like, this. And then if I want to do a tool, it's like, okay, well, I click on the card to pop the tool up, and then I click and drag the tool down.
Oh my god!
And having played that on mobile works perfectly, but on PC it's just kind of like, this is a weird thing to be doing.
Kind of yeah.
But yeah, so it's little things like that. But again, you get used to it. It's pretty much it's the same as like when you used to play Pikarom and you'd attack, and then the energy would go to the bottom of the screen, and you'd be like, why do I have to click and it's just that.
Yeah,
it's just that.
Yeah, and I'm sure, again, if the community really outcries about all these little issues, they'll keep improving upon it like they did with the update. So it does.
Well, and they've hired a whole bunch of new people to work on it and stuff. So like, Pokemon actually does want this to be good. Like, they don't. Yeah. They're not just putting it out there and what am I trying to say? If they wanted to just put it out there and make you deal with it, you would have been playing it for 9 months.
Exactly. Yeah.
It would have been out already, but they actually care and they want it to be good, so that's why they're holding it off. And so if you're like really hardcore against it, just give it a try when it comes out, because you'll find ultimately it's not that bad. one other thing on live, very quickly. One of the big things that people have been upset about is that there's a lack of a real ranked ladder. And what they mean by that is that the ranked ladder goes up in tiers until you get to Arceus tier, which is the top, and then there's no, like, ranking yourself against other players in that bracket. Two things on that, because that's a big complaint, and that's something that I would like to see as well. I would like to see that change. But you can continue to earn points after Arceus tier.
Yes,
like Arceus tier is like 2,660 points, and at the moment I'm on like 2,870 or something like that. Which means that the data is there to put in that ranking system. So if you're concerned that that's an issue, I think that's something that they will eventually do, especially as there's been such a big outcry about the fact that it's not there. Like, I think that's something that they will do. And worst case scenario, if they elect not to do it, there is someone who is smarter than me out there that can set up a website that will do it for us.
True. Yeah, true.
I guarantee that someone will be able to do it. So there's definitely room for that to happen, and I think that that's a positive. The other thing that I'd really like to see is I'd like to see half battle passes rather than full ones. Because at the moment the battle pass goes for the full set, and it takes you like about a day. If you play every day, it takes you a day of playing 2 games to get to like the next tier up. So it takes about 50 days of playing every day to get to the end of the battle pass, which means that for the next 50 days, whilst you're waiting for the game to update the cards, it's not quite as inspiring. So what I'd really like to see is maybe like a 2-month set battle pass, where it takes 60 days of, like, the set's just come out, here's 60 days worth of stuff, and then in the last month before the next set comes out, another little battle pass with, like, maybe 25 tiers or something like that where you can go up. But I'm sure that that's an issue that I personally have, because I play Pokemon every day. There are probably people who play casually that just want to play a game every couple of days, and that's fine. So that's a personal issue for me. It's not a big deal.
No, those are definitely good ideas for sure. The ranked ladder I know is a big one. I'm not as big on the ranked ladder, mainly because like I don't think I would really play it that much in all honesty, right? I'm more of the rogue guy. I'm not super into the competitive stuff. But if everyone else needs to see a ranked ladder like that, and I can understand where they're coming from, I would vouch for the ranked ladder too. Even if personally I probably won't play it that much, I do think it's something that should be added, and it helps the game stand out more too, right? Kind of like the VGC has in.
And I know the big people that want it. Azul is a massive advocate for it.
Yeah, I saw his tweets.
Yeah, he and I got into a weird argument about it. I feel like we both misunderstood what each other was saying. But essentially, I can see players like him and Mahone and like Tablemon and Zapdos TCG and Omnipoke, all these guys we were talking about earlier. I can see them doing like big pushes to get to that #1 spot, and I think that would be great to watch. So I'd really like that to happen.
It's it's extra content, right? It'd be extra content.
It's something that's cool to see, right? Like
very cool.
Like I'd really like to watch, because that's something that as well that you don't really get. Like good players, you don't often see really good players playing really well at the moment, because all the views are in deck profiles, so they can only really play good decks once, and then they have to move on. To see something like that would be really cool. And also something that I'm going to try and do, which you're welcome to steal. Anyone's welcome to steal if they're listening. I'm going to try and play through the ladder and get to Arceus tier on a fresh account. So, like, with no investment, because I think that it's possible to be in Arceus tier without spending any money. And that is a massive selling point.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. So, like, can I get to Arceus tier without spending money on TCG Live?
Like, no investment myself, just playing the game. Can I free to play all the way up to the top tier?
To Arceus tier, yeah. No, that'd be a good YouTube series.
Because I think that's interesting. I think it's a stream thing rather than a video thing, but
that's true. Still, yeah, no, that'd be a good idea. That'd be a good idea. And I think you kind of brought up a good point with like the big name players trying to get to that top rank, because we've even been seeing like Tord, Rekliv streaming more now, and Grant Manley streaming, like two of like some of the best players in the game, and that'd be cool to watch them, like Tord streaming, seeing him try to get to the top tier rankings with the ranked ladder. So
exactly,
it would make
it's like with Hearthstone or Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or any of these games. That's half of the content is decks that are fun, and the other half is really good players playing really well, and that's what I'd love to see.
Yeah, and that would be a better, like, that's a good divide, right? Because like
Yeah.
you got the ladder on PTCGO, which obviously all the good players have to play, and then all the rogue people have to play, and there's no like divide between the two. And
Yeah,
having
you get
that
stuck.
kind of content divide, yeah.
Yeah.
So having
And also
that
the ladder
content
on
divide is good.
PTCGO is just absolute garbage, like all the time.
It is. It's random.
Pretty bad.
Well, it's bad too when like a big YouTuber makes a video and that deck is just all of the ladder. Like I remember after Mahone made that Kyogre Volcarona video.
Oh,
like,
dude, that was the worst 4 days.
That was so
Like,
bad.
oh, I just can't play anything. I'm sitting here trying to play my rogue decks, and you just keep killing everything. This is brutal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it got a lot of views, so
It did
I
get.
can't blame him.
No. It went viral in the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's kind of another thing with having the two separate ladders and content is like, yeah, if Mahone makes another video on a card that like gets him like 100K views and it's all over the ladder, that'll be more for casuals. You're not going to see people play it on the ranked ladder, so you can kind of keep that separate. That kind of helps a little bit too, you know?
Yeah, well, you don't have your top players being upset about having to play on PTCGL as well. Like, I know lots of players in my community that are really competitive don't play PTCGO because it's not valuable testing. So it'll encourage those players to come back to the game, as well as encouraging new players to play without having to feel like they're playing against Arceus or Palkia every 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because you have some big name players. You have Natalie Miller. You got Henry Brand. Some of the best players in the world. And yeah, if they're not on PCGO as much, the live might incentivize them to come back.
They just don't test on PTCGO, and if they do, they only ever test against their friends. So
yeah.
Like, they never play the game. So if we actually give people a reason to play, then they'll play.
Well said. Well said. I think that'll conclude today's episode. We had some pretty good topics about content creation. I always love talking about content creation. Whenever we have a YouTuber on, I'm always a fan of just listening into the content creation talks. And we had a pretty good talk in this episode. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm always a fan of it. And we had some pretty good talks about PTCG Live. I'm sure someone might be watching this from TBCI. Maybe Steven's watching it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Stefan's watching it. Who
Hello.
knows,
Are you there? Hello.
Yeah, you there? If you're watching this, here you go. Take our advice from the live talk.
Here's a couple of ideas. Just pass those on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think before we head off, do you have any socials you want to plug? The floor is yours.
My socials are really easy because if you're already a fan of Pokemon cards, then you can come to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/thesableyes or /@thesableyes. They've changed the thing, and anyway, it's /thesableyes, so you can jump on there and leave a like and a subscribe. That would be brilliant. And the only other place that I am is Twitter, which is also @thesableyes. But Twitter might explode in 2 days, so just
that's true.
We'll see how we go. Elon might fire everyone. It might be over.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. You're gonna pay $8 to get verified.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, I'm going to be verified soon.
Yeah, you might want to follow us. We're going to be verified soon.
Yeah, exactly. We have $8 a month. We can manage that. That's so stupid. Anyway, let's not talk about that.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's crazy out there. But I think that'll be it for today's episode number 15. Next week, hopefully, Lindsay will be back on. I'm sure she'll be feeling better by then. And we will catch you all later. And have a good rest of your day. Peace.
Shuffle Squad is proudly sponsored by Atlas Collectibles, the best place to buy any trading card game product online. Visit atlastcg.com and at the checkout screen, make sure to use code TSS12 to save an unbeatable 12% off your entire order. Atlas Collectibles will ship your product anywhere in the world, so make sure you're taking advantage of the 12% savings with TSS12. And if Pokemon is not your thing, don't worry. Go to atlastcg.com and see all the other amazing trading card game products they have there to offer.
The Shuffle Squad is partnered with PTCGO Store to provide our community with the best access to Pokemon TCG codes. They have codes available 24/7, instant email delivery, and you can save 5% off by using code TSS5. If you're a YouTube member or Patreon supporter, you'll have access to a special code that gets you 10% off. So what are you waiting for? Use code TSS5 today and save 5% on your next order of codes on any codes available at ptcgostore.com.
PokeExpert, the best place to get your fill of Pokemon-inspired puzzles. New puzzles are posted every day, and they recently launched a new Guess That Pokemon puzzle, which is a ton of fun to play. Go check them out at pokexword.com and be sure to follow them on Twitter for your chance to win a ton of PTCGO codes every month.
Check out the Late Night Series Season 6, brought to you by myself, Zach Lesage, and the Shuffle Squad. We're going to be running a bunch of sick events for the Pokemon community, and they start on August 30th. So one thing you might be noticing here is that there's an EU time and an NA time. We have one at 12 p.m. Eastern, which works out to about 5 p.m. in London, and then we have one at 7 p.m. Eastern, which should help out a lot of players on the West Coast play in this event. That being said, we still have a lot of cool things going on. Expect similar prizing that we've had for other Late Night Series events. Expect better staffing, expect better tournament experiences, and of course we do have a stream going up for this season as well, and I will be streaming the event on Twitch. That being said, we have the whole season up on the Play Limitless website. Late Night 51 all the way through 70 runs until we hit the Invitational on November 5th. So check that out, sign up today, and support Zach Lesage Events and the Shuffle Squad. See you there.